Hi, everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb for December of 2015. I'm actually pretty excited about this month because we have, we've got Jupiter, Mars, and Venus every morning in the morning sky in the east. We've got a comet along with those. The moon's going to ride by those. We've also got the Geminid Meteor Shower, and we've got the longest night of the year for the Northern Hemisphere. So, it's looking to be a very merry and bright Christmas, or at least a very merry and bright December for astronomers. So, I'm going to talk about all that stuff. I'm going to try to move quickly because there's a lot, so I can still get to constellations. But I'll talk about the planets first, then talk about the comet and other events and close encounters, and then talk about the constellations. So, as far as planets go, around sunset, you're really not going to be able to see anything until maybe the 16th. If you go to sunset and look west, you might just be able to see Mercury over there in the southwest, just above the horizon. Now, what you'll notice is that, day after day, Mercury is going to get higher and higher and higher. So by the 31st, you should be able to see it for about an hour and a half after sunset. So like December 31st, sunset is 4:48, and you can still see it until about 6:15, something like that, depending on your horizon. But that's really it for sunset. So if you really want to do astronomy this month, you're going to have to stay up late or get up early. That's the plan. Because in the morning sky, and let me go back to December 1st, let's look east, and let's look around sunrise. And if you look more toward the southeast, let me back it up. Sunrise is technically 7 a.m. Let me look at let's say 6 a.m. is probably when it's just starting to get light. What you'll see is a nice lineup here. You've got Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, okay, as well as this Comet Catalina, which is pretty neat. From what I hear, you kind of need binoculars to see it as a fuzzy ball, and that's all you'll really see is a fuzz ball. If you look at all the pictures online, they're all really good pictures of time-lapse photography, maybe some stacked pictures. So that's not what you're really going to see, but it is a good picture of the comet. So that's the setup right there for December. Now let me zoom out a little bit and watch what happens throughout the month with these planets. As the month goes by, well, the moon pops by, but Jupiter and Venus sort of move away from Mars until December 31st, or keeps going on December 31st. That's when it's actually furthest away. So Jupiter and Venus will actually be about, I think, 70 degrees apart by that point. So everything's sort of spreading out, and by the end of the month, Saturn pops in below Venus. Okay, so in fact, let me move back, and maybe even into the dawn, you'll be able to see Saturn for a couple days, maybe 2 weeks. And now let's go back to the beginning of December, and let's look at that comet. In fact, I'll skip ahead and just talk about the comet right now. Okay, Comet Catalina. Let me go back to 5:45 a.m. Okay, Comet Catalina sort of hangs out right near Venus and Spica for this month, or at least for the beginning of the month. And it's been making some news. It's an exciting one. It's no Halley's Comet, but you will be able to see it, hopefully with your naked eye. But as David Levy says, comets are like cats. They both have tails, and they both do whatever they want. So any predictions we make are, well, there's a lot of room for error, let's say. So anyway, let's take a look at Catalina throughout the month. So December 1st, it's below Venus. And then the interesting part is on the 7th. On December 7th, you'll be able to see a thin crescent moon, Venus, and Comet Catalina. Now, this, I believe, is a stock picture of a comet. If you were actually to take a picture of this, I think this would be much, much dimmer. But you never know. But they are in the same area of the sky on December 7th, which is a great close encounter. And let's see. So let's take a look at what happens over the next month. So the 7th, 8th, 9th. And so what happens is it's going to get higher in the sky and higher in the sky. I noticed it didn't really drop in visibility, but I'm pretty sure it will as time goes by. And then by the end of the month, it's very close, up high, it's very close to Arcturus right here. And in fact, on January 1st, Arcturus and Catalina are very, very close together, which will make a good opportunity for, excuse me, taking a good picture. So, but anyway, yeah, those are the planets for the month, including a comet as well. Yeah, I think that's really all I want to say. If you're looking at the end of the month, though, you can find Catalina by finding Arcturus, or you can look directly above Venus and directly to the left of Jupiter. It's like kind of makes that nice right triangle there. All right, well, let me go back to December 1st, and let's find the moon on December 1st. There it is, okay, up there to the right of Leo. And the last quarter moon is going to happen on December 3rd. Last quarter moon is when the moon is lit up on the left half, and you can only really see this from midnight into the morning. Okay. Then what's going to happen is if you go out every morning, you're going to start seeing the moon get thinner and thinner and lower and lower. And in fact, this is when the close encounters happen for that first week in December, December 3rd to 7th. It's a great week because you have the moon up above Jupiter on the 3rd, the morning of the 3rd. Okay. Now I'm here at like 6 a.m. It's probably still a little too bright. You might want to go out earlier between like 5 and 6, but you'll still be able to see it. But the moon will be up there on the 3rd. Now the next morning it'll be closer to Jupiter, but it will be underneath. Then on the 5th it'll be closer to Mars. On the 6th it'll be in between Mars and Venus, but closer to Mars. And then on the 7th, it is, again, like I said before, right there above Venus, only about 2 degrees away. Now, let me show you something else. Let me center on the moon, okay, and focus in on it with Venus in there. Now, what's going to happen is throughout the day, and what I'm doing now is I'm fast-forwarding through time, you notice that throughout the day, the moon gets closer. Now it's daytime. It gets closer and closer to Venus. Okay? The perspective is changing a little bit. But what you see is it gets closer and closer to Venus. Now, eventually, by around, let's see, now for us, about 12:40, about 12:40 p.m., you will see Venus disappear. Sorry, let me center on that again. Disappear behind the moon. Really, the moon's going in front. It's called an occultation. And what's happening is the moon is passing in front of Venus, and Venus will not reappear until, and I see some clouds there that make it tough to see, but it won't reappear until about 2 p.m., maybe a little bit before that, like 1:45. It's just cool to see. It's just really more for the advanced astronomer, but it is really neat to see that sort of thing happening in the sky. So, anyway, let me move on. There we go. New moon is going to be on the 11th, so the 11th is a good time to check out the night sky in general. It's a new moon, so skies are dark. And then on the 13th and the 14th, okay, you see there is a crescent moon, so the moon's getting higher in the sky, it's getting a little thicker. But the important part about the 13th and the 14th is the Geminid Meteor Shower. So, excuse me, with the Geminid Meteor Shower, if you can find Gemini, you can find where the meteors are coming from. This is a really good show. It's a lot like the Perseids in the summer. Excuse me. And usually it's about 80 meteors per hour. This year they're predicting 120 meteors per hour. That means there's about 2 every minute on average, which is really good. But again, that's under dark skies. If you're in the city, it'll be much less. If you're in the country, it'll be less than 120, but it'll be more than like 5. But yeah, so Gemini, the Geminid Meteor Shower is excellent for this year. What we see is, if you're new to watching meteor showers, just find a very dark place, dark location somewhere away from street lights. and away from the city if you can help it. But if you can't, don't let that stop you. But at least get away from the local lights and look toward Gemini. All right, now if I look to the east, okay, and right there, this would be the constellation Gemini, and this is where the meteors will be appearing to come from. Okay, so what you want to do is you actually want to take a look and look at the entire sky. Don't focus, don't use a telescope, don't use binoculars, just look at the entire sky, if you can, the whole thing. And yeah, dress in multiple layers, check the weather, and in fact, if you want to be really good about it, go to imo.net, and you can actually do a scientific meteor count that scientists will use to help them find or predict future outbreaks and future meteor showers. So anyway, yeah, go out there, find the Geminids. It's best to go out after midnight, but any time at night is good. It's just you'll see more after midnight and into the morning. Okay. So anyway, let's see. We're on the 14th, and let me move back to sunset. A little bit past sunset. Okay. You see the moon over here in the west. It's a nice crescent moon. And then over the next couple days, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker until the 18th, when you have a first quarter moon. You can see that from sunset all the way to about midnight is when it sets. And then a couple days later, on the 21st, longest night of the year for the northern hemisphere. It's the winter solstice. You can find more information about that online, but we are now tilted as much away from the sun as we possibly can. And yeah, that's really it. You just have about 15 hours of night if you're around the 40th parallel, something like that. And yeah, so Christmas Day, what's going to happen? Well, nothing special except a nice full moon. It's completely full. It's visible all night from sunset to sunrise. Hopefully you have some snow on the ground, and it'll illuminate the snow. It'll be easy to walk around without any lights. Take some good pictures. Really cool stuff for that. And then lastly, nothing really happens until the 31st, when, let's go later on into the night, where you will see Jupiter and the moon. Let me go back one night. Morning of the 31st, night of the 30th, you'll see Jupiter and the moon hanging out together in the southeastern sky. So yeah, that's what we got going on for December. Lots of really cool stuff. Let me see. We are at 13 minutes. I'm going to do constellations super quick. Let's not look straight up. Let's use let's go to 10 p.m. Okay, and let's go on the 15th because that's a good average day. Let's scroll out, look to the south. Okay, now when you're looking at the sky, you'll be able to see some fall constellations over here. Now, I would suggest finding the fall constellations. You can find Pegasus, which is this great big square in the sky. And then there are these two curves that are Andromeda. And if you're under really dark skies, you can see the Andromeda galaxy over there. But that's not what's really cool about the winter. What's really cool about the winter is the winter constellations. You've got Orion here in the middle. And so what I like to do to find all the other constellations is I look at Orion's belt. And if I follow Orion's belt to the right about 20 degrees, which is 2 fist widths, held at arm's length, I find Taurus, the bull, this V constellation, okay, with the bull horns going all the way up to these two. Excuse me. And yeah, and then if you go 5 more degrees, you find this nice small star cluster called the Pleiades, which is 5, 6, or 7 stars that you can see with the naked eye, many more if you have binoculars. Then if you follow Orion's belt back the other direction, you find the brightest star in the sky, which is called Sirius, and it's part of Canis Major, the big dog. Let's see. Oh, also, above them is Gemini, the twins, and Auriga, the charioteer. But the way I like to see these as well is if you follow the bright stars Aldebaran in Taurus, Rigel in Orion, Sirius in Canis Major, Procyon in Canis Minor, Pollux and Castor in Gemini, and Capella in Auriga. These make a nice big circle of very bright stars in the sky. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stop for this month. So I wish you all very, very clear, dark skies for the month of December.